Hello guys, welcome back to the Student Room's YouTube channel. My name is Ross Campbell, and if you don't know who I am, you can click a link here to watch my previous video where I basically introduce myself and talk a bit about what I do. Today the topic is how to prepare for a gig. Due to the fact that I'm a guitar player, a lot of this will relate to guitar players only, but I'm going to try and throw some extras in for those of you that are not guitar players. Maybe you're a singer or a drummer or a bass player, anything really. So the first thing that I would bring to a gig, obviously being a guitar player, is my guitar. This is a really obvious thing, but to get your guitar to the gig you'll need a reliable gig bag. This doesn't have to be something that's expensive. You can get some really pricey gig bags for like £100 that are really just glorified gig bags with nice padding. But I just use sort of standard gig bag that's got plenty of pockets for guitar accessories, and it's got a couple of straps in the back so you can have your guitar in the back and keep your hands free to carry other gear with you. The second thing I would always bring with me is a spare set of strings. Now this is pretty essential for guitar players because if you're out doing a wedding gig and you're miles from home and you're playing late at night and you break a string on the gig or on the journey to the gig and you don't have a spare set of strings with you, then you're kind of screwed. There's not going to be any music store where you're playing that's open at 9 o'clock at night. So if you break a string during your gig, then you're in trouble. So I usually bring 2 or 3 sets with me. I use the Dario strings, and you can buy these in packs of 3, which is usually cheaper than buying them individually, so I usually take 3 sets of strings with me. Not that you're going to go through 3 sets of string in one night, that's very unlikely, but could happen, you never know, so it's good to have spares. This next one applies to, I guess, all tuned instruments. Always bring a tuner with you. There's nothing more annoying to an audience member than the sound of a guitarist or a bass player tuning out loud on stage at full volume, maybe with a distortion pedal on even. It happens, I've seen it plenty of times before. It's infuriating to watch and really annoying to listen to. So do yourself and everyone else a favour and buy yourself a little clip-on tuner or a pedal tuner that goes on your pedal board. Me personally, I use a TC Electronic Poly Tune. That just clips on the end of my guitar right here, and that means I can just turn down my volume and find out if I'm in tune or not and tune up if I have to. And chances are you're going to have to tune up a few times in one gig because you could be playing somewhere really hot and that usually causes your neck to warp a bit in the hot weather and your guitar will go out of tune, or because it's not used to hot climate it will struggle to stay in tune for longer than an hour. I experienced this a lot when I was playing in Africa. It was really hard to keep my guitar in tune, and a lot of the times I couldn't even tell because of the sound that we had at the gigs. It was quite hard to tell through my monitor, so throughout each gig I was constantly checking if I was in tune or not, because sometimes, like I said, you can't even hear yourself on the stage. Unfortunately, you'll be faced with situations like that all the time where, you know, the sound man's not too great or doesn't really know what he's doing, or you don't have monitors on stage and you can't hear yourself properly. So that's another reason to always bring a good tuner with you. Now this is something that applies to not only guitar players but everyone in the band. Bring earplugs with you. I always take these ACS custom molded earplugs with me to gigs. Now these were kind of pricey. You're looking at about just under £200 for custom molded earplugs. How it basically works is you'll go to your local hearing specialist and they should be able to get you custom molds of your ears. They basically insert this sort of green putty into your ear and they let it sit for about 10 minutes, and then once they pull it out they have the shape of the inside of your ear. They'll send that over to a company that makes earplugs. In my case it was ACS, who are based in Germany. They'll send them over to Germany and it'll take about 2 weeks in total, and once they come back they'll have custom earplugs that fit snugly in your ear. It's a good idea to remember to bring earplugs to most of your gigs for the obvious reason to save your hearing. I've been playing in loud rock bands in tiny little practice rooms since I was about 10 years old, and I really do believe that my hearing has suffered because of it. I only got these earplugs about a year or 2 ago after I started to notice that my hearing was much worse than it was when I was younger. Yeah, take care of your ears and get some good earplugs. If you can't afford custom ones, there are a lot of options for just regular earplugs that fit most ear sizes, shapes. For example, these are earplugs made by a company called Alpine. These are Music Safe Pro earplugs. They come in a nice little box. What you get in your box is a little strap for your earplugs so that they can hang on either side of your neck. You'll get 2 little earplugs, and you'll get a selection of filters to put in the plugs. So the filters, essentially they change the dynamic range of the earplug, so you can get ones that will reduce it up to like, say, like minus 20 decibels, minus 10 decibels, minus 5, so that you can control how effective the earplugs are. For example, my custom earplugs, they're minus 17 decibels, which is really quite a lot. So I actually don't really like wearing my earplugs because it's so quiet when I play, but sometimes you just have to put it up with it anyway and get on with it, because it's better than losing your hearing and damaging it even more. But yeah, if I could go back in time, I would have gotten you know, maybe like minus 5, minus 10 decibels instead of 17. Again, this also applies to most musicians. Bring leads with you, bring spare leads with you, don't just bring one lead to every gig. If you only need one lead, if you're just a guitarist or a bass player that plugs straight into an amp, great, you only need one lead, but you're going to need to bring a backup with you, because it's not uncommon for leads to break. Actually, it's really common for leads to break, especially if you're buying cheap ones. For years, I always bought really like the cheapest leads I could find. You know, I would go into a local music shop and find, you know, a lead for 10 or 12 pounds and think, great, I'm saving so much money here, instead of buying a lead for like 40. And it would break after like 2 weeks or a month or 2 months, you know, which isn't ideal. When you do that, you end up buying more and more leads, so you're spending all this money on leads and you think that you're saving your money, but you're really not. So what I did recently was I went out and I got a few really good quality leads that I know are going to last me a long time. So I got this Planet Waves / D'Addario American stage cable. It was about £40 I think for a 20-foot cable, and that sounds like a lot for a cable, but again, the build quality on these is really good, so I know that it's going to last me a long time and it's going to save me spending money on more and more cheap leads and having them break. I also got just a standard Planet Waves lead, which is also really good in terms of build quality. So I usually need about 2 leads for each gig, but I always bring 4, so I have a spare for each. So you should do the same. Something that's not entirely essential to bring to a gig, but is a very good idea if you, for example, play in wedding or function bands, is to bring lead sheets with you. You can do this in various formats. For example, my setup isn't really practical. I use my laptop. I just have all my sheets, chord charts and lead sheets in a folder on my Mac, and I take that along to gigs. Sometimes if I'm a bit unsure of a few songs, I'll just set the MacBook in front of me on a chair. I wouldn't recommend bringing a laptop. I would recommend buying some sort of tablet if you can afford one. You don't have to spring out for an iPad. If you're only going to be using it for lead sheets, then you don't really need an expensive tablet. You just need something that's affordable and does the job you need it to, which is just to read PDFs basically. So this is my girlfriend Anita. She and I recently were out doing gigs in Africa. She recently bought this Samsung tablet for all of her lead sheets. How much did this cost you?
About £250.
About £250, so that's considerably cheaper than an iPad, I think.
Yeah, because if you only use it for lead sheets and your lyrics, and that's what I basically use it for, then there's no point buying some expensive iPads, and that does its job really well.
So Anita uses just Adobe Reader to view all of her to view all of her PDFs, all of these lead sheets that she's got here.
So you just scroll it, hold it, and click it. And here we have a song.
Yeah, so for example, here is saw her standing there by the Beatles, and she's got lyrics, any notes of like
how many bars, intro, yeah, solo, guitar solo, that kind of stuff.
How long a guitar solo will last for. So yeah, always bring lead sheets with you, and you don't even have to have a laptop or a tablet tablet, you can just do it the old-fashioned way and print off your sheets and stick them in a folder as well.
But if you have sheets, you need to remember to have like a small clip-on light, because sometimes it's really dark in the venues, so then you can't see your lyrics. So that's why that's a good idea, because you can always see them.
And you always bring both, don't you? You always bring your tablet and your folder.
Yeah, you can't really rely on technology 100%. Same as with leads, as you said, you cannot just rely on one thing. So I always bring just my backup normal sheet. So you can always use them.
If you can, bring both. A tablet and a folder.
And I also bought this fancy stand kind of clip thingy for my... Oh wait, that's on the whole thing.
One more thing about using tablets for lead sheets, you can buy microphone stand mounts for your tablet. So it basically just clips onto your mic stand and you can have your tablet like right in front of you at eye level. So it makes it really easy to read your sheets.
So that's how it works.
And then
it's
it
quite
just clips
stable
onto a microphone stand.
Yeah, and you can
like
customize it up and down. And it's great. I love it.
Okay, so those are most of the essentials that I would say you always need to bring to a gig. Now I'm going to talk about just a few extra things that I usually take along with me. I usually bring a string cutter along with me, so that just makes string changing a lot easier. You just have like a little set of pliers here that just cut the end of the string off. At the end here you've got a little string winder, so when you break a string you can just put that onto the end of the tuner and wind it down, pull the string off, put the new string in, wind it back up really quickly, and then snip the end, and that's you. And if you're a guitar player, again, I would bring a capo or capo, whatever you want to call it. This comes in handy if you're doing wedding or function band work and you're in a band that doesn't have a regular singer, or you're playing in several different bands with different singers. You'll definitely find that not every singer you play with will sing every song in the same key. Having a capo comes in handy for that when you need to play something in a different key. You just clip this onto your guitar neck and you're good to go. And the last thing, which again isn't essential but is always a good idea, is bring water with you to a gig. This is probably more essential to singers than it is for anyone else. If you're singing a lot for, 2 to 4 hours a night on weekends, then you will need water. Because why? Because your throat dries up, or?
Yeah, because you need your vocal cords to, I don't know, you can be really cheesy and refer to a car with no petrol. It's just like it dries up and it dies. So same happens to your throat.
That's an awful metaphor. Alright guys, so those are all of my gig preparation essentials. If there's anything in here that you think I missed out and should have been in this video, leave a comment below. I'd really be interested to hear the things that you guys bring to your gigs that I don't bring with me. As always, if you like this video, please like and share it with your friends, and subscribe to the Student Room's YouTube channel below. If you want to get a better idea of who I am and what I do, you can go to my channel here and watch some of my videos. I make a weekly vlog that gets uploaded every Friday relating to things I'm doing musically. Thanks so much for watching this video, guys. We'll see you again next week. Bye.